Who do you got,
right.
Rich?
So my first buy is a contender buy, Garrett, because he is 30 years old, so he's a little bit older. Now, we do know the tight end position does last a little bit longer in the NFL because their whole game isn't predicated on speed. So one of my favorite buys for this year and possibly going into 22 or 24, but I'm really just focused on this player for this year because he's not very expensive right now. You can have him for almost nothing. This is an easy tradable player for definitely for a contender. And that's Tyler Higbee, tight end for the LA Rams. You know, most people might not know it, but Tyler Higbee finished as tight end 6 overall last year in PPR leagues. And right now he's going probably in the teens, I think in ADP wise, like the 14th, 15th round in ADP, somewhere right around there. So right now his value is just polarizing. And what Tyler Higbee is going to give you is that tight end 1 season. And yes, you'll be like, well, Rich, he finished as tight end 6 last year because Cooper Kupp was hurt. Yeah, I'm aware. But guess what? This team is blowing it up. They're in hardcore rebuild. They went all in for that Super Bowl ring, which kudos to them because they got the ring. So I have no problem with everything they did, giving up all their draft picks, signing these players to big-time contracts, and now they're paying for it, and they got to eat it. So they're dismantling this team, trading away star players. Yes, they have Aaron Donald, but Matt Stafford we have no idea if he's going to last a whole season. And what weapons do we really have on there on offense outside of Tyler Higbee? Yes, Cooper Kupp, one of the most premier wide receivers in the league, who's also 30. And then it's Van Jefferson and Ben Skowronek there. And then Cam Akers at running back. But even with this defense and his scoring ability, this team's probably going to be playing from behind a lot. So I look for them to throw the ball a ton, which is their MO anyways. Cooper Kupp's going to have a monster year. But Cooper Kupp's going to see all that number 1 coverage, which in the middle of the field is going to be Tyler Higbee, a big, strong, athletic tight end that's going to come in here and just catch a lot of footballs. And when we look for tight end value, we're looking for target share, right? Like target share is everything for the tight end, because if you're not the number 2 option in that offense, it's going to be hard for you to succeed unless you're elite, like unless you're in that Dallas Goedert tier, right? So for me, for a player that's going in the late teens that you could probably get for just a young upside player in your draft, probably a 3rd round rookie pick right now in tight end premium, that is huge value to get a tight end that will most likely probably finish right around tight end 6, tight end 7, potentially higher if he sees enough targets this year, because that's where it's all about. I would almost lock Tyler Higbee if he stays healthy in as a top 6 tight end this year. And in super flex tight end premium, that's huge value for me. And he's one of the few tight ends that you can actually see a clear path for target share for with diminishing value. Because even if you want to go out there and buy a guy like Dalton Schultz, he's 26. His price tag's going to go a little bit up. He's still a hot name out there. There's not many guys out there that are older at the tight end position that you're going to find this kind of value. Tyler Higbee is the number 1 guy, and you should go out there and trade for him today if you're a contender in tight end premium leagues, or honestly, even in 1 QB leagues, Garrett. We all need that tight end edge. So even in 1 QB league, Tyler Higbee is probably even a little bit cheaper.
Right. Well, and the price tag, you're going to get him as your tight end too. Chances are you don't even have to start him. You can, but chances are for the price tag, he is one of the best backups that you can have right now at that tight end position. If you have Pitts, if you have Kelsey, if you have Andrews, if you have one of those guys, he's a great. But if you need him to start, he can do that. And you mentioned how he was tight end 6 last year, and Cooper Kupp was gone. Well, actually, the season before, when Cooper Kupp was there, points per game wise, he was actually even higher in 2021 than he was in 2022 with Cooper Kupp still there. The only difference there is Higbee missed more games in 21, so his overall ranking was a little bit lower, but on a points per game basis, he actually even scored more in 2021. So I'm absolutely with you. I think Tyler Higbee is a very good value. I think he is a solid player. And Matthew Stafford, if that arm and that elbow isn't quite right, those longer throws down the field, those aren't going to be as readily available. He's going to check down a little more until that arm strength is back up to where it used to be. So he could be a very hot target there, especially in the early part of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. And again, you're always like when you're a contender, like the value. This source screens value. And I like what you said too, which is we preach this all the time too. Even if you have a Kyle Pitts, you have a Travis Kelsey, it never hurts to go get these guys that are ridiculously cheap that can help your team in case an injury comes up, because once your player gets injured down the road, that price tag goes way up. if Higbee's performing at a top 6 level next year, that price tag is going to go up a little bit as well, where it might cost you a second because you're up against it. And best case, if your guy's healthy going to the playoffs, maybe there's another playoff team that you feel confident that you could beat where you could trade Higbee to and recoup and maybe even get a higher draft pick where you're on the receiving end of putting that player up against you and getting the 2nd round pick, or at least getting your 3rd round pick back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with you, Rich. I do think he's a really good value right now. And when you mentioned his name, because we were texting earlier about, what players that we should target, when you said him, I was like, really? And then I looked and I was like, actually, yeah, which makes him an even better buy, because if people right away, their initial inclination when you say a player's name, you're like, really? And then the more you research, you're like, oh yeah, he is really good. That just shows how undervalued he really is, because people that do it all the time, like us, are still even like, really, Higbee? I don't know. Oh yeah, he is. He's a very good buy. So I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, I want to stay away from youth here on the tight ends, because I want somebody that's going to win now. Because anybody go out here and say buy Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, Dalton Kincaid, right, or Greg Dulcich, like, we know those are buys. Those are clear buys, upside players. Everybody likes Greg Dulcich, but where's the value for veteran tight ends? And that's where I believe it is.